Welcome to a new episode of our Revisiting Residency series. Today we're going to Skopje, and we will be joined in the North Macedonian capital by Bulgarian writer Alexander Shpatov. Shpatov is the author of several volumes of short stories, and he also just recently edited an anthology of short stories from the beginning of this millennia. In addition, he is currently also the chairman of an association which promotes literature as well as reading all across Bulgaria. And actually, one of his short story collections, Life from Sofia, you can also read in English translation. Welcome, Alexander. How are you today?
Hi, I'm fine.
I believe you're joining us today from Sofia, am I correct?
Absolutely.
So you were in Skopje in 2019, but it wasn't your first time. So maybe just give us a little bit of a glimpse of what you wrote about in the essay, because you touch a little bit upon what happened the first time and then what happened during the second time, or I believe it was the second time. So just give us a little bit of an overview.
Well, first, a little bit of geography. Sofia and Skopje are very close to each other. So it's basically for 3 hours with a car, you can go to Skopje. But there's a border. So this border has prevented many people from choosing to go to Skopje. And among my friends, when I got back from Skopje and I was asking, well, have you been to Skopje? I mean, it's a nice city. Hardly anyone said yes. So that's why I started the essay with telling my first experience of the city, because, well, we were just hanging in a bar and somebody said, there's a great concert in Skopje, let's go. And this is how we went. Like, it was just a very easy decision to do and, how to say, very impulsive. And it turned out that the city is really nice and that something located 3 hours away from Sofia is worth visiting, and hardly anyone knows about it. So when we went there the first time, we wanted to go the second time again. So we went, I believe, 2 years afterwards, we went to the same festival. So was it Manu Chao, I guess? Something like this. Big event. And then I saw Dubioza Kolektiv, which is a very good band from Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Yeah, I think they've also been in Berlin at some point.
They weren't that famous back then.
Wow. Yeah. You're a trendsetter, Alexander.
Anyway, so when the opportunity came for a residence in Skopje, I was owing because I already had seen the city. I wanted to know more about the Macedonian culture. Bulgaria and Macedonia are very close to each other. We could have been like Germany and Austria probably, but there's a lot of political tension at the moment, so I'm not sure if this is the right comparison. Probably, well, I don't know. But, well, when you meet with somebody, it's always normal conversation, a warm conversation. If you're reading the news on both sides, it seems like a big conflict. Okay. So it's always good to sit on a table and see the real persons.
Yeah. There's actually, I think, in some newspapers, I don't know if they also do it maybe in Bulgaria or in North Macedonia, but I think it's in some German newspapers and then also in some English-speaking newspapers. What they're doing now, there's like something called dining across the divide or something. So they invite people from different political spheres to actually meet. And what always results is, when you actually sit across from each other, you are a bit more willing to actually listen and see the other person as a human being that, maybe has different views from yourself, but, there are usually more things that they have in common than that separate. And so I think this crossing that border is super important. And it reminds me a little bit of what, for example, I also saw, not that much nowadays, but between Slovenia and Austria and Italy and Slovenia, where people sometimes from Austria would just cross the border, you know, to refill some petrol and buy cheap cigarettes and go back. And I'd be like, you know, you can drive further on. There is more food, there is more petrol, and the people are nice. But there would really be this division when literally from Graz, for example, to Ljubljana, it takes, you know, 2 hours by car, which is now changing quite a bit. But I remember when I was younger, this was still quite the big thing. But so I like the fact that you then, like, once you saw Skopje, you were like, oh, it's actually really, really interesting. But now tell me a little bit more about when you were there in 2019, because it became quite a literary, really, residency. You probably met all the, or not all, but many North Macedonian writers. You actually met Frosina, who did another episode with us, which I really love, that you're kind of actually talking to each other in the essays. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, apparently there's a place in Skopje where all the cool bookstores are located. So if you go there, you're likely to meet everybody from the literary scene. And my first time there, we met with Frosina. We sat on one of the tables in front of a bookstore, and people were just coming by, and she would be like, "Oh, this is this," and it turned out for like literally 1 hour, I met, I don't know, 10 people connected to literature in Skopje. And I believe Skopje is the center of Macedonian literature. So like, this is a focal point for literature and for writing. Yeah, it was interesting for me. Now, going to Skopje, I thought that for me it would be very easy to read in Macedonian because, well, basically the languages have a common root, but it turned out I could read newspapers, I could read science, but you're talking about literature. Literature is like the highest level of a language possibly achievable. So it's not like you could understand all the layers if you start reading without being prepared. You could understand something. You could get the grammar right. You could get what's going on. But this is not literature. You don't read in order to get what's going on. You read for the full experience. And I regret I couldn't take the full experience reading, like taking a book from some of the authors I met and just read it immediately with the full understanding. So when I got back to Bulgaria, I found some of my new Macedonian friends. I read their books in Bulgarian translation. Of course, before this, I was a huge fan of Goce Smilevski. I think he's the author of European Proportions. I didn't meet him in person, though.
The one that got away.
Yeah, the one. Yeah.
Cool. So what I really like is that then when in the essay you wrote, in the end, you also, then we can read, because you had reading, of course, also in Skopje, and you kind of did a Skopje version of the first chapter or the first story in your Life from Sofia short story book, which I really enjoyed. Actually, when I was in Sofia afterwards, I kind of reread your book, and then I was checking, did I do this? Did I do that?
Okay, very good.
So I really enjoyed it also with Skopje, because I've been to Skopje. So then I was like, did I do this? Did I do that? And I really liked the part about the park, because I don't know, I think that maybe it's also for you because you went there for the music festival. But when I was there, there was just, a free concert of Femi Kuti in the big park. And I was like, this is, a musical capital we should go to more often. So I also really enjoyed it. But just like, how was it then for you going, let's say, or a different question, Did you find something new on, because you stayed a bit longer. You said you almost became a little bit, well, not a local, but you started feeling like a local because it was quite a long time that you were away from Sofia, and you really got to know the place, almost became a guide yourself. Did the city also unlock something in you that you didn't expect or that was completely new to you?
Well, when you go to the cemetery, it's a different experience. You definitely unlock a new level. That's for sure. But let me say a few words about the story in the essay, like the story about Skopje in the essay, and the story about Sofia in my book. So, like my book Life from Sofia is about Sofia. And you have to warm up before reading the story. So there's an introduction where, like, there's a list of, I believe, around 100 items, things to do in Sofia in order to experience the city, which works fine when you're presenting the book in Sofia, but doesn't work fine at all when you're presenting it in another city. So I've done this in 12 different Varna in Bulgaria, where like I try to, with the audience, we try to make a similar list for Plovdiv, for Varna. And when I was in Skopje, I thought, well, there are people who can help me, Dushko, Frosina. So probably we could compile something together. And the end result, when I read it in the book presentation, everybody said, okay, well, this is Skopje. This really is, yeah. Like, you haven't forgotten anything. It's a comprehensive list, and it's not biased in any way. So I think it's a good list of things to do in Skopje. Of course, it's not as comprehensive as the Sofia one, where I think it's got, the Skopje list got around 50 items, so twice as less. I don't know. I hope when people from Skopje read it, they'll enjoy it. They'll say, oh, he got the vibe of the city.
I mean, I've only been there once, I'm not a local, but I saw some things where it's like, okay, I approve, but yeah, I'm not from there. We'll have to ask other people about that. Anyway,
usually the only thing that people get from Skopje is the antique Macedonian vibe in the downtown area, and this is just a very little part of Skopje.
Yeah,
it's designed for a visit, but I think that the most important places are the ones that aren't designed for visitors, are for locals.
Definitely, yes. Yeah. I think I think it's always good to also just like step away from, let's say, the monuments and the tourist places and just go to a random corner and see normal life unfurl.
And this is like, those monuments are quite controversial,
yes,
even among locals. So, I mean, this is not the only. So the first time, when I was there for the first time, this was the experience. You see the downtown area, you're shocked. You come back to Sofia, and you tell all your friends, you can't believe what I just saw. Like, plasterboard, gigantic statues of, I don't know what. So
different things. Well, in any case, I still think, no matter what maybe some urban planners do to a city, I think Skopje is still very much worth a visit, and I hope you enjoyed your time there. Equally, also, of course, Sofia is great. If you want to find out a bit more about Sofia, you can read Frosina, Frosina's essay on that. Thank you so much. And you can now check out Alexander's essay online. You can find the link in the description box. If you like what we're doing, you can also subscribe to our channel, or you can follow us on social media, and keep your eyes open. If you also want to go on a residence, or if you're looking for a translation grant or some project grants, just keep an eye on our website, where we usually also announce our open calls. So enjoy all the essays. Thank you again so much, Alexander, for being with us today. Live from Sofia via Skopje. And yeah, thank you so much. And we'll see each other at a different episode soon.